Hey girl, it's your girl, your favorite movie and TV junkie. Today we are staring a new series on a single mum turns detective. The story kicks off at the police station. Detective Karadek arrives after getting zero sleep, while forensics and their evidence board has been completely rearranged. What he doesn't know yet is that the criminal is actually the night shift cleaning lady. We get a glimpse into Morgan's chaotic daily life. She's at the grocery store with her kids while arguing with the cashier over coupons. The cashier tells her the total is £173,081, but Morgan, with a brain like a supercomputer, starts doing the math in a split. The cashier looks at her like she's lost her mind, but honey, she didn't miss a single penny, and she makes every penny count. Obviously, she gets picked up by the cops for tampering with a crime scene. In the interrogation room, Karadek threatens her with obstruction of justice, but Morgan is totally unfazed. She looks at him and says, "I wasn't trying to help you, I just wanted to sleep. I have a compulsion to put things right." And this is where she completely embarrasses them. She explains that the victim's house was immaculate, except for one curtain missing its tie-back cord. Plus, she noticed glue residue and hairs stuck to a chair leg. Her conclusion? Someone was tied to that chair with the cord and duct tape. The dead husband had no marks on his wrists, meaning there was a third person in that house. The detectives think they have her beat because they have surveillance footage of a woman with a grudge, Lishka Zheng, entering the house around the time of the murder. But Morgan looks at the screen and literally laughs in their faces. The date on that timestamp is doctored. How did she know? Look at the trees. The wind is blowing from south to north, which only happens in the LA basin between mid-July and September. There's a traditional Catholic church in the background. Morgan drops a massive knowledge bomb, explaining that 19th century churches were always built facing east, so the sunrise would shine behind the priests to make them look more divine. Since the wind yesterday was blowing from the north, that footage is months old. Someone set up a fake trail. They are absolute in shock and asks how she can possibly know all of this. Morgan explains that she has an IQ of 160, technically known as a high-potential intellectual. She has a photographic memory and advanced cognitive abilities, but she clarifies, "It's not a gift. My mind is constantly spinning out of control." The victim's daughter, Letty, mentions that her mum was spiraling because of a secret suicide letter sent by a colleague named Sarah. Since the police can't get a search, this turns things 360 degrees. Back at the station, the chief and Karadek are talking about how they're running out of time and need answers soon. They start considering asking Morgan for help. Karadek isn't fully convinced, but they eventually give in, go to Morgan, and ask for assistance. Morgan joins the case. They go over the board of clues. Again, Morgan has seen this before, so this is just a refresher. After all, she is the one who spotted the mistakes before. They decide to confront the victim's sister and ask about the suicide letter. She refuses to share it, and without a search warrant, there's nothing they can legally do. But Morgan decides to take matters into his own hands and steals it. He then shares it with Karadek, who is furious. Morgan has just committed a felony. Morgan doesn't understand why it's such a big deal. He believes they finally have the clue they need and should go arrest the culprit. What he doesn't grasp is that this isn't how things work. There are protocols, procedures, and laws that must be followed. Karadek loses his patience and decides he can't continue with this experiment any longer. They drag the corrupt boss, Brian Diamond, into interrogation. The guy is a total shark in a tailored suit, swearing up and down that he has a rock-solid alibi because he was in Fontana on the day of the murder. Karadek kicks Morgan out of the room because she starts shouting, but she insists, "Look at his Italian shoes and his watch. That guy wouldn't be caught dead in Fontana unless something dirty was going on." Plus, she remembers that the victim's sister, Sophia, had a dusty apartment, except for one perfectly clean souvenir from, you guessed it, Fontana. Bingo. The boss and the sister were having a secret affair, but without success, and without being able to get anything else out of him, they are interrupted by his lawyer, who forces them to stop the interrogation. Everyone, but especially Morgan, is frustrated because they can't do nothing. Morgan knows he's lying, but their hands are tied. The scene Morgan causes is the last straw. Karadek is done with her and tells her she is no longer part of the case. She's out, but, being the good-hearted cop he is, can't just sit back and do nothing. So the next morning, he shows up at Morgan's house. They both have alibis for the time of the murder. He tries to understand why Morgan insists that Brian's alibi is not enough. I mean, people go to places, right? With their notes ready, they head to the crime scene. Despite their alibis, Morgan connects the very last piece of the puzzle. And here is where the magic begins. She sees the flowers. In the last photo the daughter had of her, the flowers in the background were fresh and bright pink. But in the crime scene photos, they were completely wilted and dead. Those specific flowers take at least 4 days to die. How is that possible? Because they turned the house into a giant refrigerator. The boss owns security tech, and the sister is a botanist. They froze the husband's body to completely fake the time of death and give themselves perfect alibis. Using this logic, Morgan figures out exactly where they hid the kidnapped wife. A place to have their affair. A place they know is secure. Someplace one of them owns. Someplace remote. And it clicks on Morgan, the photo she saw at the sisters, and they find her alive. By the end of the day, the captain of the police is so blown away that she offers Morgan a full-time job as an official consultant. The final twist of this episode will leave your jaw on the floor. We find out Morgan's deepest, darkest secret. Her ex-boyfriend, the father of her oldest daughter, mysteriously vanished 15 years ago. So Morgan, a sharp businesswoman, makes a deal with Chief. She wants a 20% raise on the initial offer, and she wants childcare covered, and most importantly, she asks for help to find her missing ex. She agrees to all.